Hi, everybody. Grady Polson. Welcome to the America Agency. Hello, everybody. Grady Polson. Welcome to the America Agency. So excited to have Brhy Henry on with me. Bry's been with us for 5 months, Bry?
I think I'm in my 6th month now.
Sixth month. So we're 5 months and a few days. We're marketers, right? So over 60,000 issue paid this month, 250,000 issue paid as an agency. Former solar company owner transitioned out of that into insurance sales. He's going to tell us why. And so I've had a few wonderful interactions with you, but as seeing your numbers grow, seeing you meeting your wife last week was super cool. And see what's possible here now with great men like you joining us. I had to get you out here and meet the rest of the company, and let's introduce people to who Brhy is. So without further ado, how are you doing? Give us an insight on who you are, how you found us, how all this thing is working.
Well, I'm doing great, blessed and highly favored. I've been saying that for a long time, but coming from an industry that was such a blessing, which was solar, and then sort of felt like it imploded. And then to be so excited when I wake up every day and stress-free again for the first time in years, I truly am blessed and highly favored. I think you have a saying that I'm going to steal from you. If I felt any better, I would be myself or something like that. So that's how I'm feeling.
That's wonderful, dude. So, okay. So you came from solar, and
Yes.
it's like when you're shopping for a mattress or a new car, you see that mattress all the time, or you see mattress buildings, and then you see that new car all the time. But when you're not in solar or from that industry, you don't really know what happened. And there's a lot of people on here that might be in that industry still and looking to come in here, or in another industry, not understanding what happened and or how good it is here. So will you give us some like background on,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not like it's not proprietary knowledge. It's what's happening in that industry and why
Yeah.
people are flooding from it to us.
It's quite simple. So we thought we were going to save the planet one rooftop at a
Yeah.
time. It was a saying that we said all the time. And the truth is, I do believe we made a massive impact on the renewable energy focus for America for the time that we as a sales force, we're driving it forward on the residential and commercial side. But what happened is quite simple: is the cost of solar had to go down to make it make sense, and unfortunately, the market just didn't adjust fast enough. And so you have, unfortunately, it's just a really unfortunate situation for the homeowners because you have a lot of companies who thought they'd be around for gosh know how long, all out of business, 25-year warranties that won't get honored now. It's kind of a mess. And for the past 2 years, like I said, I was a supernova lucky in that space because I went from my first 13 months, I cleared 1.3 million, I think it was. It was life changing. I came from alarms where $250,000 a year was a lot of money. And then you go from that to $1 million. It's like, wow. But for the last 2 years, it has felt like we were just fixing something every day. I was always putting something together, always trying to figure out this finance option, major finance options going out of business. At some point, you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, is all of this worth the stress? My wife, my kids were feeling the impact. My financials were in disarray, and so I was looking for the right home. And I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I found it.
I I agree more. We'll do everything we can each day to make that best decision in your life. But I would love to go one more layer deep on that, just for myself and the audience. So, price, like what prices had to go down? Because, like, what it had to get cheaper, or the government got involved, or
So the
California
government,
said no more of that. Like, what happened?
so the government was always involved.
Okay.
90% of rooftop solar sold in the past 3 years was done through a solar loan. The solar loans were basically sub-financed, I guess you could call it, through the federal government subsidies, which was a income tax credit for 30%. So effectively, you buy a system, you file your taxes, and in one way, shape, or form, you have access to 30% of the system costs, right, in order to subsidize a cost. So you could pay off it or utilize it to offset other tax situations. The problem is that just went away, and it didn't go away like slowly. It was like one vote, gone.
Wow.
It decimated the industry. And unfortunately, because no one knew how to pivot quickly enough, even the companies that are still thriving, you have a massive exodus from one company to the next. You have too much demand, not enough supply when it comes to capital. Wall Street's obviously who financed a lot of the money as well, super uncomfortable with lending out more money, not knowing if these systems are going to be able to get service for 25 years. And so, I'll be completely honest with you. If you're still in this space, I don't know how you're doing it, from someone who believes in solar in the US and how important it is for renewable energy. I don't know how you're still in that space. You should be diversifying right now. If you're not, more power to you.
Question. So, like, what I know is our commissions are dictated by the insurance carrier. Let's just say 100% commission rate is going to pay, if Betty's paying, for simple math, $83 a month on a whole life times 12 months, that means she's going to pay $1,000 over the first year. So we get paid on the first year of
Yep.
Betty's payments at 100% commission rate, which is very common in insurance. That means at 100%, I'll make 100% of that $1,000 my first year, and I'll get advanced 750, and that other 250 I get on the back end when she makes her months 10, 11, and 12 payment. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very simple to understand. The insurance company's gonna make money. Betty's got a great product. I get compensated for my lead costs, my time, my dialer, my staff, everything the expenses I have as a business owner. Now, from solar though, I feel like you see these unscrupulous looking people sometimes talking about how they just hosed Betty for like a giant commission. And I'm like, how does that industry allow you to write whatever you want in to how much ever you want to make?
That's a great. So the truth is there's probably bad actors in every industry, but that one's unregulated. There's no licensing. There's no test you have to take. From someone who is blessed to have a father who introduced me to insurance many years ago, and we'll talk about a little later why I think it's different today than it was back then, and why it's the greatest opportunity ever. But solar in and of itself has just a lot of room for he said, she said. And that's the problem, right? Because there's no regulation, there's no like standard. As a matter of fact, me and a group of my colleagues built the National Solar Association. I was there when it was founded. We had a guy with no shoes on who helped Google come up with big ideas, come out. We formed this association. We thought we were going to save solar. We spent a fortune founding that thing and trying to get people to join and coming up with ways to regulate the, if a sales rep sold a bad deal here, we would notify everyone so we couldn't keep doing it. But it was too little too late.
Got it.
Yeah.
So got it. So moving forward, industry had volatility, and not just volatility, like company ending volatility. I mean, I can say it because it happened. Like, I live in Arizona. We live in Arizona. I've been to a bunch of Phoenix Suns games and watched hundreds of Phoenix Suns games. And on the floor of the Phoenix Suns arena was Titan Solar.
Yes.
Right. So we're talking about a company big enough to be vetted by the NBA, right? That probably sure their financials. They're not just going to like let it, Bob's VCR repair school, just drop some money and put that on the floor of the Phoenix Suns arena. And now they don't exist.
Yep. Overnight.
Overnight.
That was my main installer for many years, between them and Freedom Forever and quite a few small companies in between, and great people over there. So kind of heartbreaking how that happened, because it was like a supernova, and the leadership of that company really did sort of set a standard for installations and speed to timelines and expansion. And I believe a lot of folks followed that wave. And then you have Freedom Forever, who's still an active installer, actually. Surprisingly, considering what everything else going on, to be that big and still in business is a tribute to them. But banks going out of business. It was just too much. Overnight, we got an email. We kind of knew for about a year it may happen, but we literally just get an email one day saying, sorry, we're BK'd. And I had a few hundred accounts still in the pipeline with them. It was catastrophic for a lot of people. It really was.
That's awful. Heartbreak. We support entrepreneurship. We support small business. We support people going out there and working 18 plus hours a day, 7 days a week, for 24, 46, 36, 48 months trying to build something. It is unfortunate that happened. And however, do you know how many life insurance companies have gone out of business?
Not many, from what I understand. I mean, from what I understand, you really don't go out of business. Just another bigger company comes and buys that client book and has to service those clients. It's kind of too big to fail, so to speak.
Correct. There's it's essentially zero, meaning that it would be zero in the sense that those hundreds of accounts that you had that then didn't get the solar, and the agents didn't get paid, the sales reps didn't get paid on. That happens 0 times in life insurance, because they protect each other. Meaning, if a company, something got, like, one of the thousands of life insurance and insurance companies out there, if something's happening, another company will just buy them. They will protect the renewals for the agent. They'll protect the policies for the clients. They'll protect the beneficiaries and everything that is supposed to be protected. And that's, that gives me and a man like yourself confidence as we go out there each and every day and doing this work. So thank you for the insight on solar. Like, just for I mean, there's many of us that hear it and like, go talk to solar reps, but we don't really know what or how it happened. So that was very powerful and informative. So it seems like, entrepreneurship, self-motivated. You were in alarms before. And like, what's your background? How did you get into all this?
So I was in college.
Okay.
And I think my father knew that I was not very happy. I was following a path I thought I wanted. I wanted to be a law student and go to law school and all these things. And my dad was an entrepreneur, like career entrepreneur, very successful at it. He worked with Primerica and he sold. I mean, he's done everything. And he taught me how to sell from like 13. I mean, I will give him that. Like, he had me passing out flyers from one of his businesses at 13 years old. I say all that to say that he kind of knew that I had a different path. I think he knew I had the entrepreneur spirit. So he introduced me to a door-to-door company by the name of DMS. And from there, I never looked back. In college, around my senior year, they offered me a management position. I was doing super well. I broke every record the company had and all these other things. And I was still in school full time. And they offered me a job basically making what at the time was around 100 grand a year as a manager plus, whatever, which was that 20 years ago was a lot of money.
Heck
I
yeah.
took it and never looked back.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting your father at in
Yeah.
Dallas. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And just a side note for all of you out there that have children, have ambition to have children, or have influence on the youth, your willingness and desire to get uncomfortable and do something and build something is going to impact them positively and expand their vision. Right? That's our goal as people who want more, is to influence others the same way. And so I love hearing that. So your father gives me, I'm ready to take my two boys and put them outside with a lemonade stand every Saturday. Like, boy, you need to bring some money in, right? These Robux aren't going to pay for themselves. So, um, so, so let's jump through that. So solar is,
Well,
dwindling. Yeah.
I'm in alarms. I go to solar.
Yes.
Supernova about. I literally created millionaires in the space. They did the work, but I had a little hand in their success, and I'm very proud of that. And you go to my Instagram, I have one thing that I'm chasing: create 100 millionaires before 40. That's my why, right? And so solar was that, then it wasn't, and I knew that the next thing I did, I had to look people in the eye and make sure they have the same opportunity that I have. Because I know that, I know I'm going to be, I could sell anything. I could sell rocks. I'll figure it out. Like, I have that gift. I'm blessed that way. That's a gift from God. And so, and I've been honing it for 20 years. But taking someone who's 20 years old and showing them how to make $1 million, that's exciting. Because if they can do it faster than me, even better. Right. So that's why I got into this space for a slew of reasons.
For those that, I would love to hear how you explain it, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
how I explain it, there's how others explain it. Like, I came from this, and now what? Insurance, the thought of insurance, like you just have this old, brown briefcase and a top hat guy, like Mad Men looking dude selling insurance.
That's
and here we are, like, insurance, like, it's just a different world.
And here's my elevator pitch, right? The truth is life insurance truly is a wealth transfer tool. That's what it is. It's what it was built for hundreds of years ago, to put more money in your family's pocket, less into the government's. That's what life insurance is for. The thing that's exciting right now is 3 things happened at the same time because of COVID that I believe made this the greatest opportunity for wealth transfer we will ever see. Number 1, because of COVID shutting down the world, inflation just hit a point where the cost of living skyrocketed. And so Americans have had to borrow from tomorrow to pay for today. So they don't have a savings account anymore. They don't have if they had a 401k, a lot of folks had to drain it just to keep the lights on. And then folks thinking about getting back into some type of aggressive investment program, they need access to their money. And you don't have that through those because there's so many surrender fees and tax deferred. And then there's the issue with tax deferred. Won't go down that path, but the truth is, it's like inflation. How much of your tax deferred is being eaten by the fact that the cost of taxes will go up by the time you retire? And so that happened because of COVID. Number 2, the world connected online. I have access through social media to the planet. I mean, most of our leads to the ILC, which I love, right, come from some form of social media. And so, I closed an 80-year-old gentleman on a life insurance policy, super healthy guy, over FaceTime. He was 80 years old, right? Incredible. Like, you couldn't do that before COVID and here's why. People couldn't leave their house. So they directed their attention to the attention economy. And the attention economy is in this bad boy, your smartphone. And so that happened simultaneously with folks that, need life insurance more than they've ever needed it. Now you've got this incredible opportunity to market to anyone, right? Grab their attention and sell them something that they need. So you're not trying to solicit, cold call. We don't cold call, first of all. When people say that, I just laugh because I'm a door-to-door guy by career, right? No, you don't. And then the third thing that happened and this is the one that's probably more potent to me, is the licensing requirements to do this job, though stringent, right? The barrier of entry is basically like, can you read? Can you study? Can you learn? So now I have an opportunity where I can make pretty much no ceiling income wise. I can talk to people pretty much all day that are looking for what I have to do, and then virtual. And that's the last piece. Overnight, it became okay to work from home and sell life insurance. When I sold life insurance back in the day, when I was convinced to do it, I hated it. It was a face-to-face business. I was pre-DocuSign, Grady. So like I sold life insurance and auto and home pre-DocuSign. So we're talking like, NLG contract that's like 24 pages long. And if you miss an initials on page 13 in the middle of the page, they charge you back. It was just not fun back then. All of a sudden, I'm OTP text verifying signatures. I'm getting people signed up in 25, 30, 40 minutes. And I can do it from where, anywhere. And I'll say this last thing on this piece. Like, I have 5 children. I'm a busy guy, right? My wife, my children, I love them. I love spending time with them, right? Everyone says their family is their why. I like hanging out with my family. They're my why not go to work, okay? My why is the guys and gals who count on me to show them and lead from the front. But I was at Wolf Lodge for a birthday party, closing a $2,400 app. And it was in that moment when it just hit me that I made the right decision. I was like, we're going to crush this thing. And that's my elevator pitch.
Paid for the trip, man. That's the beauty of this business. And it's difficult to explain it to others because they have a classic antiquated view on it. The paper apps, faxing in, waiting for back office portals to load up, etc. And now you can sell a 100K trans policy from your cell phone and get paid tomorrow. And that's a whole life to a senior. And it's unbelievable the ease at which FFL as a company has increased the production, which is then moving the carriers to want to serve our production. And that's a whole nother conversation. But it's to know that anyone that's out there looking at this, watching this in the future, or watching this now, is that if you've got ambition, drive, and desire, this is the place to be. This is the time is now. And you're hearing from, wealth transfer tool. Brhy, you got some good stuff, brother. You got some good stuff.
I'm licensed to sell life insurance, but I'm not a life insurance agent. I'm a financial strategist, period. Right? And life insurance is the greatest, most secure, safest wealth transfer tool ever created. There's no taxes. You mean if I pass away, my 5 kids, I can leave them whatever I want to leave them, tax-free. What else does that? Real estate doesn't. Right? If you ever wonder how the federal government's going to pay $32 trillion in debt, they're not concerned. The baby boomers will eventually pass away, and they have $70 trillion in debt. I'm sorry, in their retirement accounts. Yeah. 20% is theirs. There's no life insurance for your retirement plan, and so I'm really on a mission to teach 2 things. If you're young, I read a book. Once again, here's my dad again. Richest Man of Babylon, long time ago. Okay. And The Richest Man of Babylon has one rule that I pulled from it, which is take 1/10 of every check, put it somewhere you can't touch, and do that long enough, and you'll be floored by what it can do over time, right? And then he taught me about the rule of 72, which is a whole nother can of worms we won't go down today. And I look at life insurance, it truly is the Richest Man of Babylon's tool, right? Because if you want to start accumulating wealth, the first thing you have to do is start. You don't have to start with $5,000 a month. Start with $100 a month. Put it into a whole life policy when you're super young. 30 years from now, you know how much that thing is worth with compounding interest? Child, please, this is the most incredible opportunity I've ever seen. And you mean I can sign you up, send you a 6-digit code, you read it back to me, read a little statement, and the contracts are signed, and I'm paid 48 hours later? I woke up to a $18,000 check in a day last week on Friday. 18 grand in a day. I just was like, for one carrier, by the way. Incredible opportunity. I don't know why everyone's not running here faster, to be honest.
They're coming. We're going to do 1 billion this year, 2
That's great.
billion next. Sean said it. So here's, I want to get into your selling because you're selling at a very high level, right? Your mentality, your mindset is elite. And I want to get there, but I want to talk about like maybe the beginning for a second. So solars, you've made the decision, you're moving in here. Some people don't understand kind of, licensing, very low requirement. Real estate, you got to go sit in an office for 3 weeks for 8 hours a day and then take a gigantic test about torts. And it's a whole thing to then go do rentals, right? Or maybe the only reason you got it because you got one buddy that might buy a $500,000 house that you get that 3% of, but you don't realize though he might ask you to take 2% or 1.5% or 1% because that's going to come off of his purchase price, and like the realtors are chasing, and that's fine. Real estate's amazing. I don't want to be a realtor. I want to be a real estate investor. But insurance, we've got people that you can study for 2-3 days, cram, get it in there, learn what you need to learn, and pass the test, right? 70, you're in, 69, you got to retake it and just pass the test. So kind of what is that experience for you coming here now, regulation, learning life insurance, and getting into this lead business, right? Because that's a whole different kind of world than, parking at the end of a street, knocking every door all the way down, saying, I talked to Mary down the street. She said that that we're here from the power department, and whatever you guys' schmeal is. But how has that been for you?
So the first 90 days was a muscle I was prepared to flex. But I believe everyone does forget that when you start something new, you have to learn the language. Now, that's another tip from my father, by the way. Whenever you start a new opportunity, you have to learn the language, right? And so you're not going to be proficient day one. So if you're going to start something new, you cannot say, well, I'm going to try this with this and see. No, I knew that I was going to do this because when I make a decision to do something, I do it. I don't make excuses. I just start. And when I decided I was going to do it, and by the way, just a little caveat here, like I can work anywhere I want. I have a pedigree, the tenure to walk in the room and be with any owner, CEO I want. I chose FFL very specifically. We'll probably get into that later, but this is the best opportunity, period. And I looked at them all, period. We could go back and forth all day. I'm right on this. Come back in a year, you'll see. But if you really kind of fast forward to just where we're at, and by the way, I lost my train of thought. I do that sometimes.
Okay.
Go back. Would you ask me?
How was your first 90 days? Getting started, licensing,
awful.
Find leads, etc. Yeah.
Awful. And here's why. I have an Amex. No limit. I can buy whatever leads I want. I didn't want to do that. How can I ask someone to start broke if I don't start broke? So what I started with was the leads that they give you when like the free batch. Here, you got your license. Here's 5,000 leads that 500 people called. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get 5 deals from this lead list. And then I got 3 or 4 deals. And then my upline blessed me with my first pack, right? Hayden and Nina, shout out to them. And I got that first pack, and they didn't have to do it, but they did. And I got some more deals. But see, the thing is I took everything I made and I said, my budget per month needs to be blank. And for the first 90 days, my goal was to make sure I made at least that. Ironically, I made it within the first week, but I knew not everyone who started was going to have that experience. And so I treated it as such. Okay. And because I went through that real pain, I called final expense leads, and I did all the things everyone's like a little harder or whatever. I loved it because I learned underwriting really quick, right? Older folks tend to have all the pills you could possibly do. So I learned what they meant, where to go. Is this customer, this company, that kind of thing. So, and I just got my teeth kicked in, and I just embraced the suck. That was it. I just went through it. I woke up every day wondering, can I do this, and how to get a sale that day, and okay, and then go through a day where you don't get a sale, and but I tell everyone, if you just divorce, and this is an Edmund Catan saying that I adopted from him, right? If you divorce the outcome, right, and marry the process, you'll always find your way through it, right? There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm blessed and fortunate to know that because I've had the experience, and hopefully you can lock arms with people who just hold your hand and tell you it's gonna be okay. Like, so what? You're gonna go do something else, Uber Eats or something? Like, stop. You make $2,000 in the day here. That's not worth 90 days of just unblinking focus? Of course it is. But you have to believe in yourself. Stop leaning into your trauma and lean into your belief in yourself. And if you have none, then lean into other people's belief in you. Find and surround yourself with people who know you can do it, whether you believe it or not. That was my first 90 days.
I love it, dude. I love it. So let's jump into selling. So you're now writing 40, 50, 60 this month. You got a goal to write 100 next month. That doesn't come just from want. That comes from skill development and from time of figuring out which leads and how much to leads, and then having a couple bad batches, which isn't a bad batch, just means they didn't answer for this week, and they're all going to answer next week, and that's just part of the lead game. So talk to us about your what you're spending now on leads, your favorite 1, 2, 3 types, whatever that is, and
Sure.
then let's jump into some scripts.
Yeah. So first off, I lean into the IUL lead right now, right? That's sort of my favorite lead to call.
Okay.
It's just a fun conversation. You have multiple things to talk about. It's not just life insurance. There's some other aspects to it. And I spend $47.50 a month right now, minimum on my lead spend. I spent $6,000 last month, so I spent a little more because I tried a new lead platform that was amazing. That was on the ILC. It's the Ringba, the inbound. Those are great. I love those.
Awesome.
And so, to be honest, I keep trying every different type of lead, but I commit to try it for at least a month so I can tell someone my real perspective of the difference between, like, here's why ethos works, here's what's tough about it, here's what's not, ethos, bad, and card. Or if it's an ILC lead that's, the gold, bronze, silver, why would you buy a bronze versus diamond? And so I've kind of tested every type of lead. And I have a little dirty secret that I think everybody needs to know. It's like, there is no good or bad lead. There just isn't. I've made money on every pack I purchased. Now, some I had to work a lot harder. It wasn't quite as easy, connection rate or whatever. But most of the time, if I look at myself in the mirror, I didn't put in the hours on that pack. Like, that's the truth. And then I want to blame the leads, but that's weak trauma thinking, right? And you'll hear me talk about this on my Instagram a lot about trauma and what it can do to the human psyche. You just have to understand that if you don't have success at something and everyone else is, it's probably something you need to work on. That's hard to admit to yourself in the mirror, but it's facts. There just are no bad leads. You just have to buy them consistently. And then I see people, if you have $500 for your first month, that's what you're going to spend. Why are you buying $25 leads? $5 lead. Stretch that $500 over a month. Really learn to work the aged, and then work your way to exclusive, and then work your way to maybe mortgage protection or final expense or IUL or whatever. Infinite banking, annuities, that kind of stuff. I think the best annuity lead is just an existing customer, to be honest, but hey. And there's just no bad leads. The ILC, and here's what makes sense to me, and I have to say this plug. I'm sorry, I just have to. Like, it's a $59 billion company. They have nothing but like the best interest in making sure we have the best leads. And so that made sense to me. Every other lead platform out there, they're trying to make money off of me. But if the company that benefits as the master contract holder is they're not going to want to resell that lead, because why in the world would they want me to replace a policy that someone else at Integrity is already sold? It makes no sense. It's 0 sense there. And then the second is they've got buying power. And I understand buying power better than anyone. I come from solar, right? So it just made that platform single-handedly, to me, is a number one top 5 reason you should be looking at FFL if you're trying to do this.
I 100% agree, right? They provide leads, they have access to all the vendors, and they put them into one place. On top of that, they want the data so they know what other products, health, Medicare, they can then potentially offer these people. And it's a bigger business move than just, can I make an extra $3 off of this lead reselling it after Brhy bought it on day 31? No, they want you to sell it, market sold, and pull it out. So that's fantastic. So now, Brhy, you have all the time in the world. You have no distractions. You have, big business. You have no family responsibility. No, you got 5 kids. You're married. how do you manage your time? Like that's the thing, because everyone, well, I've got this going on and that going on, Brhy, and life's hard, and I got softball on Thursdays, right? How do you possibly manage to sell this level with that much family going on?
Well, first off, if you want to be successful, you have to understand the success demands a job interview that everyone gets the job, right? And so the way I manage my time is, first off, I applied for success. They gave me the job, and then they gave me a list of requirements. And some people are willing to do those requirements, some aren't. But everyone gets the job. Everyone can be successful. And so my wife, I make sure, if you're married, be equally yoked, right? If you're in a happy marriage, that's maybe not a real normal thing, but like if you're in a marriage with someone who's aligned with you, then truly, and God provides you that opportunity, bless that marriage with doing the right thing as much as possible and do your part. My wife's the queen, bro. I don't know how she manages my 5 feral children, but she does. And so she allows me the time I need to focus on this. If you're single, then you should be focused on running towards whatever your version of success is as fast as possible. And if you're somewhere in the middle, then correct it fast. God doesn't promise us tomorrow, literally why we sell life insurance in the first place. And so if you're going to invest your time into something, make sure your time, which is your most valuable resource, by the way, your time and your health, make sure it's the right expenditure. So be in a happy marriage, be in a happy relationship, or exit, focus on I'll make sure. And interestingly enough, the universe will bless you always if you're doing the right things, right? When you're not, typically when you do too much of the wrong thing, it's usually something that makes you very comfortable, right? Like, or very happy. If you're too happy all the time, too whatever, you're really probably doing too much of that one thing. I love playing video games. Well, how much time are you spending towards your success? I love drinking. I love whatever. Then you should stop because you're doing it too much. That's sort of how I always manage my life. Is I understand that I'm blessed. I'm lucky to be here every day. I don't know why I have the skill set that I was given, but I'm sure there was a reason for it. And so I better give that to as many people as possible while I'm on this planet. Right? I'll say this last thing about that. There's a quote by Gandhi that I've always loved. It's that we do not inherit the earth, we borrow it from our children. Life insurance is a really powerful kind of nomenclature to that, because that's so true, right? Like, when we look at our children, we should say, what are we leaving them? And if I'm just a little lucky, my 5 kids and a lot of my adopted children that I work with every day, they will look at me and say, okay, he woke up and he worked hard every day. He provided for his family. He tried to keep his word. He made mistakes. He wasn't perfect, but when you made a mistake, you try to own them very quickly. And when they didn't like something, or we got into an argument or whatever, it was a very tough, crucial conversation. We had it. We moved on. And we didn't lean into trauma. We leaned into positivity. You'll find yourself super successful. Or, I don't know how much more time I have, but like sometimes you walk up to the precipice of success and you look down into the abyss and you're so scared you turn around and go back to whatever made you comfortable. Me, I get into the habit of jumping. Just jump, grab the parachute, and hopefully you can put it on the way down.
Amen, bro. We got one shot. We got one spin around this big ball of water and dirt, and why not make it the actually best time we can? That's some deep stuff, Brhy, and that's a phenomenal philosophy, and it's an entrepreneurial philosophy, because comfort is fantastic, right? It is nice to be comfortable. However, there's no growth in comfort, right? There's no growth in picking up, the 15s when you did the 15s 15 times, and you need to go to the 20s or 25s and get them 8 times. The workout analogy here, if you will. But your philosophy is one that I can see why, bro. When you share this with people who are looking for a leader and someone who's got vision, you're easy to follow. And that's something that you should be proud of. And, grateful for your father, grateful for a good spouse that empowers you to continue to go, or a good spouse that challenges you to provide a better life. I mean, all these things all add up to whom you are today and who now you get to turn around and bless, impact others. So, I mean, Brhy, you're it's an insanely large business you are about to build, my man. It is already written. We just need to go pick up the check. So we need time to pass, but that's not fun. Time travel is not fun because the journey now is where one of the best parts of this whole thing. Like, let's just keep going. Let's keep stacking days. So give me this. I want to know what you're saying to an IUL lead, right? IUL's now at FFL. We'll go back 3 years. We were probably doing 5% of our total company production was IUL business. This past year, over 40%. And what's unique about that, we saw at convention, Zach and Sean shared that FFL now makes up 4.7% of national IUL sales. That is something that is remarkable. So we're making an impact. We love the product. We love our carriers that support it, but I would love to hear your word tracks that allows you to sell at a high level, what you're doing to teach people on how to sell them, how you open the calls, et cetera. What's your word tracks?
First off, I think what I had to learn quickly is that when you're explaining an IUL to someone, you need to explain it from a place of where you're at. So if you're brand new and you're selling an IUL, doesn't mean don't sell it. It just means, so I've kept my pitch very simple, and I keep my explanation very simple, and I target my audience very specifically, right? Which is the leads that I'm buying. I'm looking for middle Americans, because here's the problem: the wealthy class of America know how to save. They know how to invest, and they know how to use good debt and not take on bad debt. That's why they're wealthy. Everybody else, the other 98%, has to learn that. The biggest gift you can give a 20-year-old to even a 65-year-old is the power of compound interest and saving. Start with something. I'm not going to make you a millionaire with an IUL at $150 a month. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to teach you the rich span of Babylon rule, which is to take at least 5% or less of whatever you're making on your worst month of the year and invest it into yourself. Because there's two things you can't count on. You can't count on living forever, and you can't count on being healthy forever. And an IUL, when you're healthy enough to qualify, gives you living benefits. When you pass away, gives your beneficiaries a real visceral transfer of wealth. But when you live, it's got all these positive benefits that every other thing doesn't have, right? Like, think about it like this. If you take your money and you put it into an IUL premium, a portion of that gets invested and you make some money on that, but you have access to your cash value within 2, 3, 4 years, depending on the policy. Why do people not invest in their 401k? They need access to the money. Why do people pull money out of their 401k? They need access to the money and it's break glass in case of emergency, but they need the money. I get to give you that gift in a life insurance policy with living benefits as well, critical chronic and terminal illness. Why in the world would you? I don't understand why you don't have it already. Now, my word tracks, very, very, very simple. I say things like, you're not going to become a millionaire overnight with $150 a month. I say things like, I'm very like, it's like, you can utilize this as, like life insurance, whole life policies, it literally increases your net worth, right? So you can utilize it to build your portfolio. But do you have a will and a trust? You don't? Okay, we got to get that fixed. So my job for middle America is to educate them on money, financial strategists, right? Without taking risks. If you want to start taking risks, don't call me. Go call the stockbroker. Go call the money guy. I'm not a money guy, right? My job is strategy. Strategy of, how do I start saving so I have an Alamo investment? That's what I kind of use that term a lot with my clients. Look at this like your Alamo investment, right? 401k, you keep doing that, match it with your company. Like, I'm not trying to tell you stop doing whatever else you're doing. I'm simply saying you should also have this tool. And here's the 3 reasons why. Tax-free retirement options. We can talk about that if you laser fund it correctly. If you're not gonna, if that's not your goal, something you can borrow money from when you need it, but it also gives you the security of life insurance. And then the third piece is living benefits are just powerful. You get cancer, you're probably going to live from that these days. You get diabetes, you're probably going to live from that. But you could get a critical illness that prevents you from doing 2 of the 6 normal things you do to live. And you have access to $450,000 that I got you approved for in 30 seconds with your medical insurance background because you answered some questions honestly. Sign here, sign here, sign here.
That's huge, dude. I mean, that is a framework of simplicity, right? That's an educational approach. That's a teacher approach, right? Where you're coming to teach. I love financial strategists. You want to take risks? Go call a stockbroker. We don't do risks here. We put you in a product that can put you and your family in a better position. Is there anything you're doing to close your sales that really ties the business down, eliminates them reaching out to another broker? Someone else calls and comes behind you and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm Bry's manager. I'm just checking. Oh, you put it with that carrier. I don't know why he would have done that." There's some unscrupulous agents out there, right? Still here. Now they can't screw over Dolores with a $10,000 commission, but they can put her in a different product and taking the business away from you when you already solidified it. What are you doing to tie your business down?
So my tie downs are simple. God put you in front of me for a reason, and I'm sorry, but like if that bothers anyone on the call, I apologize. But I'm a guy for a man, and this is how I talk to my clients. So there's a reason we're on this call together, and if we're on this call together, this is our moment right now. Tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. And so if we're going to do this, we should just do it now, because you're going to go back to living your life. And if you were going to get this, you would have got it when you were 21 and when those pennies on the dollar. You're 46, you're 52, you're whatever your age is now. This is the time to do it right now. I can get you approved. I can get you into your policy. If you can't make the payment today, right? That is something we should talk through, because that just means we're charging this is too much. Let's lower it, right? And I give people 2 payment options, right? I don't give them, effective. I try effective immediate, so it's going to come out right away, or it can come out on this day of the month. And I give them 1 day. That's what I do, to give them option A, option B. And when they go with option B, I still try to talk them out of it. I try to get it effective immediately, because you have savings. Can you transfer $100 into this? Because I don't want those policies anyway, right? And truthfully, I believe it's all about how you qualified yourself in the beginning. So I do spend a lot of time making sure that they either find me on social media, or I send them my badge ID with my license information. I may say, "Did you get that? Do you see it? Do you know how to check my national producer number to make sure I'm a licensed in your state?" And then I have an errors and omissions insurance policy for mistakes. Do you understand what E&O is for? You don't? Let me tell you. Life insurance agents and most insurance agents have a policy to protect you from mistakes. My livelihood is based on me only making the occasional mistake and only moving forward honestly and ethically with you. So if I make a mistake and I get a claim, that could mess up my ability to continue to do my job and feed my family. I'm not going to make that over one policy. You have my word on that, okay? Did you log into the? Okay, you can verify it. Great. And if you do that early, by the time you get to the point where you're asking for social, now it's order taking. There should be no, if you get any hesitation there, you're going too fast. Slow down. Where you might get hesitation is on billing information, right? But if you're filling out the application correctly, a couple questions that I do in the early application, I'll say, hey, certain banks might give you certain discounts and certain carriers don't like certain banks. Who do you bank with? I'll ask that early. And if they give me some type of resistance there, I slow down. I connect with them a little more. And so by the time I get to payment information, my hope is I've either done a good enough job to earn their trust, or this person doesn't have the emotional, maybe intelligence on the phone to tell me no to things. I understand that I'm a very decent salesperson, and then I can move forward very aggressively at times. And so I'll tell someone that at the end, listen, I might have moved so aggressively that you feel uncomfortable. Did I do something to lose your trust? Because if that's the case, don't tell me we're going to talk tomorrow. Just tell me we're not going to talk again, and I can get back to my business. That's another thing I say. And the one line I use a lot, I love this one, is, listen, I'm not a life insurance agent. I'm licensed as a life insurance agent, but I'm a financial strategist. That's what I consider myself to be. Therefore, okay, this is super important. If you're going to do business with me, I would like to do one annual review once a year. I want to talk to you at least once a year to see how you're doing, checking on your policy, make sure it's still in the right place, there's no lapse issues, no lapse pendings, and go from there. If you're okay with that, we should move forward. If you're looking for just one-time purchase and move on, I'm probably not the right fit for you. And so I sort of make them qualify this early in the combo. I make them qualify me. I'll be like, oh, I'd love to talk to you once a year. Can I call you more than that? I'm like, you sure do. You got my cell phone number, sir. And so I have found that line disarms that, plus licensing verification. It goes a really long way in a close.
Guys, this is why you show up to these calls. I've been doing this a long time, and I've never heard that line ever from anyone. And that is brilliant. You're anchoring them to an event in the future, validating yourself as a professional, saying, I want to talk to you in the future. And I'm not a one hitter quitter type of agent that just wants to sell you a policy quick, is get off the phone as fast as possible. Anyone that adds that's going to drastically increase their persistency overnight. Now the close the call. Last 30 seconds. What's the Brhy close to get them off the phone? And then what do you do subsequently, sales post sale?
I say, okay, so next thing I need you to do is very important for me is I need you to open your phone. I need you to save my number now as Brhy, the life insurance guy, because you're going to forget my name, but you won't forget life insurance. When you have an issue, I want you to call me or text me. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. I'll call back as soon as I can. And then I'm like, did you do it? John, did you do it? And then okay, I got you saved. Great. Now that that's out the way, I'm going to send you a photo of myself receiving an award, right? Something that I'm proud of. Save it in your phone. That way, when you're going through your camera roll, you can remember me from time to time, and we at least get around to that annual review once a year. Did you get that photo I sent you? And I sent them a photo of me getting an award or something like that. Like, all of you guys have something that you've done in your life you're proud of. That's why you have a photo of it. Get that into their inbox, have them save it. Believe it or not, I have found that if they have a photo of you, right, and then they go home and the wife's like, you bought a life insurance policy? You didn't talk to me? You're like, hold on. Yeah, I mean, this is the guy. And they'll show them, and it's like, okay, it's just a little disarming at that point. Yeah.
It's brilliant, dude. I love it. All right. Brhy, close us out. Final thoughts, final rally cry, final passionate plea to these people to get off the bench and get out there on the field. What do you got for us?
I think all of God's children are special. So all of you are special, which means every single one of you can do this. FFL has job applications right now. All of you need to apply. You're all going to get the job. Good news is they're going to hire you. But there is a list of requirements. 90 days of embracing the suck. Understanding that leads are not special, right? Your ability to understand the customer and move forward is special, not the lead. So just call the leads, right? And just lean into yourself and this trust in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, surround yourself with people who do. Because trauma response will ruin all great things. Run from your trauma, run towards what makes you happy, and this will make you happy if you give it everything you've got for 90 days. That's all I got for you.
Brhy, it's a matter of time, brother. For $1 million a month, $5 million a month, $10 million a month, you're going to build one of the biggest agencies I've ever seen. And I'm cheering you on. And your dad's already proud, but he's going to be way prouder. And I'm sure your wife's proud, and they're going to be way prouder, and your children. And that's, I often talk about, like, I got 4 kids too. You got to one up me, so it's okay. But it's like, I think about them seeing me down the road and just going, Dad didn't quit. And I know you probably think the same thing, right? Your babies are going to see you one day down the road and be like, it's the old, why do we live here? Well, Dad gave up. Why do we live here? Dad never quit. And that's a whole thing that sticks in my head all the time. And dude, I just see you running and winning, and I just couldn't be more grateful to get to know you and to spend some time with you and to see what you're going to build here, brother. So
it's my honor, brother. Seriously. And I know we're out of time, but I just want you to know it means a lot, everything you guys are doing for me and the agency that we're building and Edmund and the folks. It's just, and we will not let you down. We're all in. So let's go.
We're already happy. We're already proud of you guys. So, brother, I appreciate the hell out of you. Have an amazing day. Keep crushing. Keep leading the way. Huge month upcoming. I can't wait to see how you guys do. And the future is bright, bro. Have an amazing day.
Peace.
All right. Thank you, Bright. All right, guys. That's why you show up, right? Nuggets at the end. Unbelievable stuff from Brhy. I can't wait to get that out. And it's so grateful for this company and for you all to get to learn and be a part of it. The moment of Zen today, which I'm going to play here in a second, is something that if you're still here, then you got a few more minutes for me. The training I'm about to share is I've been going back and forth with some large agencies about communication and about the philosophy that I have in marketing and the way we help and persuade people to move forward, right? Salespeople's job is to help people make positive decisions to improve their life. That's a salesman's job, right? And this video I'm about to share with you is something I've watched 20 times in some capacity that has allowed me to have a mentality that is different than most, that has helped me communicate better. And I'm not special. I'm just a guy that takes stuff from other people and uses it. So if you're here now, stick around for a little bit longer, but this is a video called The Science of Persuasion. And watch it, embrace it, and go, that's actually pretty freaking cool that now you have an understanding on how things work and why things do. So Brhy was unreal. You're unreal. And check out Your Moment Is Zen. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Researchers have been studying the factors that influence us to say yes to the requests of others for over 60 years, and there can be no doubt that there's a science to how we are persuaded, and a lot of this science is surprising. When making a decision, it would be nice to think that people consider all the available information in order to guide their thinking, but the reality is very often different. In the increasingly overloaded lives we lead, more than ever, we need shortcuts or rules of thumb to guide our decision-making. My own research has identified just 6 of these shortcuts as universals that guide human behavior. They are reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus. Understanding these shortcuts and employing them in an ethical manner can significantly increase the chances that someone will be persuaded by your request. Let's take a closer look at each in turn.
So, the first universal principle of influence is reciprocity. Simply put, people are obliged to give back to others the form of behavior, gift, or service that they have received first. If a friend invites you to their party, there's an obligation for you to invite them to a future party you are hosting. If a colleague does you a favor, then you owe that colleague a favor. And in the context of a social obligation, people are more likely to say yes to those that they owe. One of the best demonstrations of the principle of reciprocation comes from a series of studies conducted in restaurants. So the last time you visit a restaurant, there's a good chance that the waiter or waitress will have given you a gift, probably at about the same time that they bring your bill. A liqueur perhaps, or a fortune cookie, or perhaps a simple mint. So here's the question. Does the giving of a mint have any influence over how much tip you're going to leave them? Most people will say no, but that mint can make a surprising difference. In the study, giving diners a single mint at the end of their meal typically increased tips by around 3%. Interestingly, if the gift is doubled and 2 mints are provided, tips don't double. They quadruple, a 14% increase in tips. But perhaps most interestingly of all is the fact that if the waiter provides 1 mint, starts to walk away from the table, but pauses, turns back, and says, "For you nice people, here's an extra mint," tips go through the roof. A 23% increase, influenced not by what was given, but how it was given. So the key to using the principle of reciprocation is to be the first to give and to ensure that what you give is personalized and unexpected.
The second universal principle of persuasion is scarcity. Simply put, people want more of those things they can have less of. When British Airways announced in 2003 that they would no longer be operating the twice-daily London-New York Concorde flight because it had become uneconomical to run, sales the very next day took off. Notice that nothing had changed about the Concorde itself. It certainly didn't fly any faster, the service didn't suddenly get better, and the airfare didn't drop. It had simply become a scarce resource, and as a result, people wanted it more. So when it comes to effectively persuading others using the scarcity principle, the science is clear. It's not enough simply to tell people about the benefits they'll gain if they choose your products and services. You'll also need to point out what is unique about your proposition and what they stand to lose if they fail to consider your proposal.
Our third principle of influence is the principle of authority, the idea that people follow the lead of credible, knowledgeable experts. Physiotherapists, for example, are able to persuade more of their patients to comply with recommended exercise programs if they display their medical diplomas on the walls of their consulting rooms. People are more likely to give change for a parking meter to a complete stranger if that requester wears a uniform rather than casual clothes. What the science is telling us is that it's important to signal to others what makes you a credible, knowledgeable authority before you make your influence attempt. Of course, this can present problems. You can hardly go around telling potential customers how brilliant you are, but you can certainly arrange for someone to do it for you. And surprisingly, the science tells us that it doesn't seem to matter if the person who introduces you is not only connected to you, but also likely to prosper from the introduction themselves. One group of real estate agents were able to increase both the number of property appraisals and the number of subsequent contracts that they wrote by arranging for reception staff who answered customer inquiries to first mention their colleagues' credentials and expertise. So, customers interested in letting a property were told, "Lettings? Let me connect you with Sandra, who has over 15 years' experience letting properties in this area." Customers who wanted more information about selling properties were told, "Speak to Peter, our head of sales. He has over 20 years' experience selling properties. I'll put you through now." The impact of this expert introduction led to a 20% rise in the number of appointments and a 15% increase in the number of signed contracts. Not bad for a small change informed from persuasion science that was both ethical and costless to implement.
The next principle is consistency. People like to be consistent with the things they have previously said or done. Consistency is activated by looking for and asking for small initial commitments that can be made. In one famous set of studies, researchers found, rather unsurprisingly, that very few people would be willing to erect an unsightly wooden board on their front lawn to support a Drive Safely campaign in their neighborhood. However, in a similar neighborhood close by, 4 times as many homeowners indicated that they would be willing to erect this unsightly billboard. Why? Because 10 days previously, they had agreed to place a small postcard in the front window of their home that signaled their support for a Drive Safely campaign. That small card was the initial commitment that led to a 400% increase in a much bigger but still consistent change. So, when seeking to influence using the consistency principle, the detective of influence looks for voluntary, active, and public commitments, and ideally gets those commitments in writing. For example, one recent study reduced missed appointments at health centers by 18%, simply by asking the patients rather than the staff to write down appointment details on the future appointment card.
The fifth principle is the principle of liking. People prefer to say yes to those that they like. But what causes one person to like another? Persuasion science tells us that there are 3 important factors. We like people who are similar to us, we like people who pay us compliments, and we like people who cooperate with us towards mutual goals. As more and more of the interactions that we are having take place online, it might be worth asking whether these factors can be employed effectively in, let's say, online negotiations. In a series of negotiation studies carried out between MBA students at 2 well-known business schools, some groups were told, "Time is money, get straight down to business." In this group, around 55% were able to come to an agreement. A second group, however, were told, "Before you begin negotiating, exchange some personal information with each other. Identify a similarity you share in common, then begin negotiating." In this group, 90% of them were able to come to successful and agreeable outcomes that were typically worth 18% more to both parties. So to harness this powerful principle of liking, be sure to look for areas of similarity that you share with others and genuine compliments you could give before you get down to business.
The final principle is consensus. Especially when they are uncertain, people will look to the actions and behaviors of others to determine their own. You may have noticed that hotels often place a small card in bathrooms that attempt to persuade guests to reuse their towels and linen. Most do this by drawing a guest's attention to the benefits that reuse can have on environmental protection. It turns out that this is a pretty effective strategy, leading to around 35% compliance. But could there be an even more effective way? Well, it turns out that about 75% of people who check into a hotel for 4 nights or longer will reuse their towels at some point during their stay. So what would happen if we took a lesson from the principle of consensus and simply included that information on the cards and said that 75% of our guests reuse their towels at some time during their stay, so please do so as well. It turns out that when we do this, towel reuse rises by 26%. Now imagine the next time you stay in a hotel, you saw one of these signs. You picked it up and you read the following message. 75% of people who have stayed in this room have reused their towel. What would you think? Well, here's what you might think. I hope they're not the same towels. And like most people, you'd probably think that this sign will have no influence on your behavior whatsoever. But it turns out that changing just a few words on a sign to honestly point out what comparable previous guests have done was the single most effective message, leading to a 33% increase in reuse. So, the science is telling us that rather than relying on our own ability to persuade others, we can point to what many others are already doing, especially many similar others.
So there we have it, 6 scientifically validated principles of persuasion that provide for small, practical, often costless changes that can lead to big differences in your ability to influence and persuade others in an entirely ethical way. They are the secrets from the science of persuasion.